My name is Cheryl Wakerhauser. I'm the owner of Pix Patisserie, and today we're going to make a little cake called la framboise. We have 3 whole eggs, and then we're going to use 1 egg yolk. And the easiest way to separate your egg yolks and your whites is just use your fingers. This is our almond paste, and if you see, it's kind of tough. So we're going to put it on our KitchenAid or any other mixer and beat it a little bit to soften it up. And once it starts to soften, I'm going to add my eggs. So here we have our frozen raspberries. We're going to put them in the food processor. It's very important you do this quickly because we just want to break them up into pieces. If you put them in the food processor for too long, they're going to melt, and then they just become a mess. Uniform pieces. And now, this is something you can do ahead of time. I'm going to stick them back in the freezer. So now we're going to add our pastry flour. When you add the flour, you're going to add it just, we say just to incorporate it. If you want a very delicate cake. So low speed, let it go a little bit. I'm going to turn it off and scrape the bottom of the bowl. We want them frozen because now when I fold them in, I don't want them to be melting into my batter. So really quickly, we just fold until they seem incorporated. This batter is great because you can do the same mix without the raspberries. You can add spices. You could add, let's say, a little bit of rum instead of raspberries. We're going to add a single raspberry in here. You could add pineapple and rum. You could do pistachio paste. So you can really change the flavor. A little bit more raspberry right in the center so that when you bite it, it's just fresh, vibrant flavors in your mouth. We'll do about 8 minutes and we'll turn the pan once. I'm also putting a double pan here just to prevent browning on the bottom. We're gonna make this glaze that we'll put on top of the framboise when they come out of the oven. So I have some powdered sugar, and it's always good to sift your powdered sugar. Just sift it up and dump it in your bowl. So lemon juice, powdered sugar, and just a little bit of cream. It has good acidity from the lemon, and the cream is just to kind of balance that acidity. Very soft. And there you go. If you wanted to do assortment on a large platter, you could do that. This is how we serve it at Pix. Very simple. When you're thinking about champagne and dessert, you don't always have to have a sweet champagne. I would stay away from the super, super dry, so a Brut Nature champagne. So look for something that says Brut. Brut has just a little bit of sugar added at the final bottling, but it's also the flavors in champagne. When you drink a champagne, like a vintage champagne, you get flavors a lot of like toast and brioche and cake, those kind of vanilla, sometimes tropical notes. All those things you can find in desserts, and they match really well. We are about 350 different champagnes, different cuvées, and another 100 sparkling wines from across the globe. We're finally starting to see a lot of quality bubbles being produced right here. Soda is a good one. Argyle has been making sparkling wine in Oregon for a long time, so they're very well known. Minis is a new one. Anna Lema just came out with a sparkling wine. To say some women buy shoes, I buy champagne. I find a producer I like, and then all these unique cuvées are becoming available because I buy a lot of champagne. So I always try to pick them up. So my list, if you look at my list, you won't see Krug, you won't see Dom Perignon, you won't see Veuve Clicquot, all the names that people associate with champagne. Not because they don't make good champagne, just because I prefer to focus on some of the smaller producers and some of the more individualistic bubbles out there. The Saignée rosés are usually deeper and darker in color and more fruit-forward flavors. So that's why I chose this wine to pair with our dessert today, la framboise, because of the flavors in the wine are very bold and vibrant and fruity. And this is the Renée Geoffroy Rosé Saignée. It is a brut, so that means it's not bone dry, but there is just a little bit of sugar added to the final bottling. So Saignée meaning it spent a little bit of time on the skins, and that's what gives it the deep color. The other way to make a blended champagne rosé is the blended red wine with white wine. This is a more complex process, and it adds a little more complexity to the flavor of the wine. So when you're pairing desserts and wine, you can complement or contrast. So complementing, this one is more of a example of complementing and complementing flavors. So in the cake we have not so much sugar, and we have a raspberry and the bold flavor of the almond paste. And in this wine, you definitely get a lot of fruitiness, raspberries, and maybe some red currants. And the fruitiness, sometimes you can perceive sugar by something that you associate with sweet. So berries, for example, have natural sugar. And so this, it's not a demi-sec champagne, but you could pair it with something with a little bit of sugar because it has that nice juicy fruitiness. Very bright, vibrant and bold flavors is this wine, whereas maybe a blended champagne would be a little more on the minerally side, less of the bold fruit flavors. And as I also mentioned, this one doesn't undergo malolactic fermentation, so you have very fresh notes to it on the palate and on the nose. And if we taste it with the framboise, so good.